The Joe Rogan Experience.
Hey man, I miss you. I miss you on TV right now. I really do. This is a perfect time for you. It's kind of crazy that you're not hosting that show anymore.
But there's so many people doing that conversation. You know, I really did burn out. Like I felt like it's just redundant. You know, the nice thing for what you do is you get to curate and kind of be more active in to follow your own rhythm for it. I was really tied to that rhythm of the 24-hour news cycle.
Right.
And how fucking redundant it is and how cyclical. And at a certain point, I was like, I don't know what else to do with this. And so I didn't want to stay just because I could. I just done it long enough. And so I thought, well, it was just time. I thought like the audience needed a fresh perspective. I needed a fresh perspective. Like I just felt done. Like I was more mad about shit than inspired, you know?
Well, I appreciate that you decided to go out literally at the very top, but it seems like, especially like right now, like John Oliver's killing it and Trevor Noah's doing your show, and it's like this is there's so much to mock. It's almost like an overload. And doing real commentary on politics today, in my opinion, it's almost like you're doing commentary on pro wrestling. Like this is a rigged game, and you're out here pretending like this shit makes sense.
Yeah,
it really is.
You're right. Well, it's also because that's the economic system that's been set up around politics is the very same that Vince McMahon set up around wrestling. You create, I mean, it is a kind of, you know, kayfabe. It's a sort of like, there are characters. You know what it's like when you're trying to produce something every day, you're going to go with kind of a boilerplate structure. So you're going to say, all right, our show revolves around, you're from the right, you're from the left, whatever comes in, we're going to filter it through that. We're going to keep it producible, but it starts to, like you say, it becomes inauthentic. But the same thing would happen to me sometimes with, like I'd be doing shows and you would know you weren't necessarily feeling the outrage of something or that the commentary was going to be as spicy or as deep as you might want it, but you might kick it up a notch anyway because it was performative. And I always had to fight that instinct to not give into the gravity of like what was expected of me.
Well, it's such a tightrope to walk because you're commenting, you're doing comedy on something that's actually serious, and it's great to mock the ridiculous aspects of it. But really, like if you're doing the Daily Show right now, like we really are in a legitimately troubled time. Like it's not like a troubled time of 10 years ago or 8 years ago. Like this is a real troubled time.
No, and I think as that builds up, it becomes harder and harder. But I can recall, you know, people will say sometimes, and look, I think there's a certain nostalgia that people view my time on the show as. And I'm not being self-deprecating. I just mean, you know, when you walk away from something, I think a kind of nostalgia about how, you know, I took a fair amount of shit while I was there. And, but the point is like Charleston happened when I was hosting that show, Ferguson happened, the Iraq War happened, 9/11 happened. Like
Jesus,
these types of things were always, and what would happen is you started to feel like you were expected to say something profound about it. And knew that you didn't really have that in you at times, or just that's a bar that was beyond, you know, you really did just want to help your staff get through it more than anything else. And so these events would come up and the weight of feeling like you had to say something meaningful in that moment for people, because that's the role that either they had, you know, let you know that you had in their lives, or that the show kind of took on, you know, became kind of difficult to navigate because the shit is so cyclical. Like, man, I could go back and do you my 10 War on Christmas bits. Year when that shit would flare up. But like at a certain point when things like Charleston would happen, or Eric Garner, like I had nothing in the tank comedically. Like all I could do was stare into the camera and just express sadness and helpless. It's like, you know what it is? It's impotent rage at a certain point. You rage against it, but over a period of 16 years, if you feel the thing you're raging against grow stronger, right? And kind of collapse on top of you and you not make headway. Nobody likes to piss in the ocean.
Yeah.
You know, or you like it, but at a certain point, if that's your job, I think people began to look at the show like it was supposed to change things. And that's a hard place to be for a comedy show.